One question for each game. Rams are at the Jaguars this game in London. Start or sit Brian Thomas Jr.?
I would start him. His last game in Wembley Stadium was good last year. So 5 for 50 and a touchdown, I believe. Looked good last week. Looked good actually the last 2 weeks, and starting to play a little bit more like the Brian Thomas we were hoping to see. So I think if this was a normal week, everybody healthy, he's probably a high-end number 3 receiver. But I think just given the fact of what he's shown the last 2 games and how this game could potentially unfold, number 1 receivers have actually done well against the Rams this year. So I think there's an opportunity for Thomas to continue that and hopefully build off what we saw last week.
I have him ranked in the exact same spot that Jamey does, so everything Jamey said.
McMillan or BTJ?
Thomas for me.
Still McMillan for me.
Colts are at the Chargers. All right. Quentin Johnston being limited. We don't know if he's going to play, but would you start any of the Chargers wide receivers over Kamani Vidal?
If Johnston returns, no, I'd start Vidal over all of them. But if there is no Johnston, I'd go McConkey, Vidal, Keenan.
I will start Vidal over all of them.
Miami is at Cleveland. Is it Jerry Jeudy week?
He's got a shot.
If not now, never.
Yeah. You're on my roster for one more week, Jerry Jeudy.
I believe he's a South Florida kid, if I'm not mistaken. I can look that up.
Oh, he is?
Yep.
He's played the Dolphins 3 times, I believe. 2 of them have been very good games.
Okay. Let's see. Heath, you still have 100 shares of Jerry Jeudy?
6.
Okay, I'm going to be starting him. Ooh, yeah, I'll start him over Tutu Atwell. I'll start him over Cameron Johnson, and Marvin Mims, and Michael Carter. Okay. Yeah, that team's not doing so great, you might imagine. We've got Las Vegas at Kansas City. Would you start a Raiders wide receiver or Xavier Worthy?
Worthy.
I might have Trey Tucker 1 spot ahead of him.
Oh.
Let's see. I have Worthy 2 spots ahead of Tucker.
All right. Xavier Worthy it is. Let me just bring this up. How you guys encouraged by Pacheco? What did you make of Pacheco? He got his first 3 snaps inside the 5-yard line. He ran 5 routes on 3rd down last week. He had run a combined 4 routes on 3rd down in the first 5 games of the season. Do you think it's because maybe Kareem Hunt got a little banged up in the game, or do you think they're giving Pacheco more work, important work?
I would love to see them give Pacheco more work just to see if he could maybe do something with it. But this is the team that gives up rushing touchdowns and little else. And if they're going to give up rushing touchdowns, it probably is going to be Kareem Hunt doing it. So I don't want to trust Pacheco just yet.
It was a season high 13 touches. So,
yeah, no, but it was more important that he got actually on the field on downs where he can score some fantasy points. We'll see if that was just a blip.
I think, yeah, if you told me that Kareem Hunt had 50 total yards and scored a touchdown this week, and scored 12 fantasy points, I wouldn't be surprised. He's someone you might flex.
All right, Giants are at Denver. Are you starting any Giants?
Scatterboo.
Scatterboo's a low-end RB2. Wandale's a high-end wide receiver 3.
Scatterboo or Dowdle, assuming Chubbard plays.
Probably be Scatterboo.
Scatterboo.
All right, the Patriots are at the Titans. Is Drake May the only must-start player in this game?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think Diggs is close, but number 3 receiver at best. So I would say May's probably the only one that qualifies. Patriots DST.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess I'll just give my quick Stephon Diggs sort of rest of season thing here. Last week was such a bad game for him, and I have trouble with this stat, but the Saints are actually really, really good against slot wide receivers. Going into the game, they were allowing the second fewest receiving yards to slot wide receivers. They did well against Wan'Dale Robinson, Cooper Kupp, now Stephon Diggs. So maybe it was a bad matchup for him. But Heath, you mentioned that first down stat, wide receivers who gain a lot of first downs. They typically, it's a good indicator for future fantasy points. That was a Jacob Gibbs tweet citing Ryan Heath of fantasy points data. So I looked at the list of last year's leaders and this year's leaders, and you do get, some of the studs on there, the the Pukas of the world, whatever. But Stephon Diggs is also a name that was on there last year and this year in terms of first downs per route run. So I thought that was interesting, Heath.
I will say that's very interesting. And I think don't sit him just because of last week. He's a high-end wide receiver 3 for me. I also think that the total first downs are more predictive than the first downs per route run.
No, well, he's probably not that high there because he hasn't played.
Because he doesn't run as many routes, and you don't score as many fantasy points if you don't run as many routes.
But last week he had 71% route rate.
Right.
We would hope for better. 3 weeks ago he had an 82% route rate, then it went down to 64%. So I would like to say buy low on Diggs, but I would say that it's just, I don't know that people really love Diggs, so you might be able to get him for pretty cheap.
And we just don't know that this offense is going to function with a true number 1 alpha wide receiver. It just kind of bounces around between guys depending on the matchup, which is probably a good way to do it.
All right, Carolina's at the Jets. Start or sit Justin Fields.
Low end starter for me.
I can't. This is a guy I probably have almost as much of as I have Jerry Jeudy. So in super flex leagues, obviously you're going to have to start him. Who's he throwing to? And can he score 20 fantasy points without throwing? Maybe.
Yeah.
You want me to give my Azer stat?
Oh, this is some Azer stat right here.
So he's had 3 games over 29 fantasy points, right? His 3 best games of the season. If you take out Garrett Wilson's production in those games, and I rounded up all 3 of them, so it's 10, 10, and 9. We had like a 95-yard game and a touchdown. So take out the yards and the touchdown. He would be averaging almost exactly 20 fantasy points per game. That's with no replacement value whatsoever. So just taking Garrett Wilson's numbers off the table. So looking at this Panthers defense, you said, can he do it without throwing the ball? I mean, he's obviously going to throw the ball. So can he cobble together, let's just say, 15 fantasy points as a passer? And the reason I bring that number up is there have been 2 quarterbacks that have run for 3.4 fantasy points, or have scored 3.4 fantasy points or more with just their rushing totals alone against the Panthers. I think Fields can get there. So if he can be in that 4 to 5 point per game range, 4 to 5 points with his rushing totals.
But that's just an Azer.
Can he get you 15 or so fantasy points with his passing? I think he'll be around 20 fantasy points.
But that's how I feel, is like that was a lot of gymnastics to can we get him to score 20 fantasy points?
Yeah, that's right. And
normally I'm thinking, man, if things go right for Justin Fields, he might score 30. And now it feels like, man, if everything goes right, he might get us to 20.
Well, it feels like that's where Sportsline has it.
Yeah.
Sportsline has him 6th. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, look, he's had big games without great receivers before, but this is the worst roster right now. My goodness.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Philadelphia's at Minnesota. Dave, are you trying to sit your Eagles this week if you could?
I'm definitely not sitting Saquon Barkley. I am definitely not sitting Dallas Goedert. I am not sitting Jalen Hurts unless I have a really good other option. And probably the same thing for the receivers, but I've lowered expectations for both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They are a number 2 and number 3 receiver, respectively.
I mean, the way you framed it, it's almost a little deceiving because, you have Hurts 9th.
Yeah, I got to have a better quarterback. So, for example, the quarterbacks in the Bucks-Lions game, I would take them. The quarterbacks in the Commanders-Cowboys game, I would take them. I like Drake May better. I even like Caleb Williams better against New Orleans. But that's it. Jalen Hurts comes in at 9.
Okay.
Sorry to be deceiving, Adam.
Well, but A.J. Brown is what, 20-something for you guys? He's 24th for Jamey, 22nd for Brown, or for Dave, 23rd for Heath.
Brown has him first.
Well, there is a Brown that's first, but it's St. Brown. But yeah, anywho, they're not the Eagles that we know and love, obviously. Jamey, Tampa Bay at Detroit. Is there anyone that you don't want to start in this game? Anyone that's usually started that you don't want to start?
Montgomery's on the cusp of, number 2 running back flex. So if you have another option, this just doesn't feel like without a touchdown, he's going to be very good. And the Tampa Bay run defense obviously is good when they're healthy up front. So don't love him, but for the most part, everybody else, yes.
Okay. Atlanta's at San Francisco. So this to me is the toughest question. Jamey, I'll throw it to you first, but how are we approaching the 49ers wide receivers this week? Because Kittle expected back. I wonder if the Kendrick Bourne thing is related to Mac Jones. Is he worse if it's Purdy? But Jamey, first word on that. How are you approaching the 49ers wide receivers against the Falcons?
I dropped Kendrick Bourne a few spots just with the return of Kittle. So started the week in the 23, 24-ish range. Now he's like 29, 30 right there, but still the best. And Jennings is more of a wide receiver 4 in the 40s just because he's so banged up, but probably going to play through it. And it's a very good defense. I mean, we got to give them credit. Like their pass defense has been solid across the board. So the quarterback concern, I don't know. It's not a slam dunk to me.
How many wide receivers?
If you're including him.
I'm sorry, Jamey. How many wide receivers have notched 12 plus PPR points against the Falcons this season?
12. 3.
Low number. 3. Jamey, do you have Jamey, is it higher or lower than 3?
Lower.
You're correct, sir. It is only 2. Emeka Egbuka, 23.6 points in week 1, and Deebo Samuel had over 20 in week 4 is when they played. And that's it. This has been a pretty darn good defense, and they've done this with A.J. Terrell missing a lot of games. So I'm not a big fan of either 49ers receiver in this matchup, but I do think it matters who the quarterback is. I think if it's Purdy, I feel like his connection with George Kittle might overshadow both wide receivers. And I know that he's got that relationship with Juwan Jennings. We've referenced all the targets that Juwan Jennings has gotten late last year, earlier this year. That's usually a Brock Purdy thing and not necessarily a Mac Jones thing. I have Jennings over Bourne. I don't love it. It's not something that I'm like mega confident in. The one thing I know for sure is that I don't feel great starting either 49ers receiver.
Okay. New Orleans is at Chicago. Rank the running backs and the wide receivers in this game. I thought this was an easy matchup for Alvin Kamara, but it's actually not. So we can get into that, but rank the running backs and wide receivers. Dave. I'm sorry. My bad. I thought this was an easy matchup for DeAndre Swift, but it's actually not.
You're confusing the running backs in my bet with Heath.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. How do we rank them?
I've got Odunze first. I've got Swift second as of now. I know. Did he pop up on the injury report?
He did, but it was a walkthrough, so I don't think it's anything. He went from full to limited.
Cool. If it's PPR, Olave's next, followed by Kamara. Shaheed's after that. I don't have DJ Moore ranked, but he'd probably settle in right about here.
Okay. Jamey, how do you rank the running backs and receivers?
Odunze, Olave, Swift, Kamara, Burden,
Shaheed. All right.
No, Shaheed.
He is cool.
Shaheed over Burden?
Slightly.
All right.
That's assuming DJ Moore's out.
Green Bay at Arizona. Can you trust a wide receiver in this game?
I'm starting Luther Burden in way too many leagues. Trust. Yeah, I'll trust Romeo Doubs. Targets have been there.
I think he's in the flex conversation. I think Matthew Golden's in the flex conversation. Cardinals defense isn't that great against the pass, is it? They've had so many injuries. They've allowed a lot. They've allowed 5 receivers to at least 16 PPR points this season.
So I brought this up to Heath on CBS Sports Network yesterday. Like, he keeps talking about that quarterbacks have somehow found a way to get a lot of volume against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And I kind of see it the reverse for this game. If there's no Marvin Harrison and the running back situation being what it is, and it's Jacoby Brissett, like this could be a very minimal pass attempt game for Jordan Love based on how the Packers have operated.
Absolutely. Okay, back to one question for each game. Let's go to Houston at Seattle. Are you starting anyone in this game other than Jackson Smith-Njigba and Nico Collins?
Both DSTs are in play based on how they performed and the offenses that they're facing in terms of how good their defenses are, if that makes sense. The quarterbacks know. The running backs know. There's some sleeper plays here. I do like Woody Marks quite a bit as a flex, but no must start.
I like Darnold. I do like Sam Darnold as a start. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt, the way that he's been playing this year, the way that JSN has been playing this year, the way that this offense has been schemed, and the lack of effectiveness from the run game, I think will be a huge factor, because as good as the Texans are against the pass, they are even better against the run. And I think Seattle's going to have a hard time moving it. And I think you're going to need Darnold to throw the ball a decent amount if you're Seattle and you're trying to win, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, this just feels like I thought Heath nailed this on that show as well. Like, this just feels like a very slow, low scoring game where Darnold may play well. I don't doubt that, but I don't think you're getting the fantasy production. I think we go back to what we saw from Darnold 2 weeks ago, where it's kind of living in that 18 point per game range. So I would set him if you can.
We talked a lot about that too. There were a lot of quarterbacks that we felt this week were in that range of, what did I call it? Like 17 to 21 fantasy points, where it's high floor, low ceiling. And I think Darnold has a ceiling a little bit higher than that, but his floor is still in that 17 point range. And
Jamey,
so that's why I've got him 10th.
You don't like Woody Marks ahead of Ken Walker, do you?
They're almost back to back.
Oh, okay.
That's PPR.
And finally, Washington at Dallas. How does the return
Wouldn't surprise me if Marks gets more touches.
I agree.
How does the return of CeeDee Lamb and potentially Terry McLaurin affect your rankings, Jamey?
Lamb goes ahead of Pickens, but not by much. I still think both guys have an opportunity here, not just this week, but moving forward. I mean, obviously Vegas is telling us this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think what Dak is doing and how much he's going to continue to throw the ball is going to allow both receivers to play at a very high level. So for McLaurin, it will lower the upside of Deebo Samuel, but I still would prefer Samuel, at least in the short term. I know both guys would be banged up, but in the case of Deebo, I think based on what he's done so far and how they'll use him in some different ways, it will still allow him to be better than McLaurin.
Plus, Deebo's taking on the Cowboys, and their defense has been brutal. So I think that Deebo Samuel has a chance at a huge game, especially if McLaurin doesn't play. If McLaurin plays, that could change a little bit. And I feel the same way about Pickens. He's a number 2 receiver. Feel good about starting him.
And Ferguson is still going to be a must start. I mean, I think the way I think we're all going to approach it is we're going to treat all of the guys like they're must starts on the Cowboys, even though Lamb is coming back. If we see George Pickens have his target share be as low as it was the first 2 weeks of the season, 12% and 17%, we'll adjust next week. But right now he's just played so well. This could be a total shootout. So just start your Cowboys.